Welcome to the Rowdy Studio. I'm Buzz Cutler. This is Bassmasters sitting right beside me, lamenting the fact that we have just one race left in the season. Are you sad? Are you crying one?
No,
a little tear?
I'm stoked, man. What more could we want? These two guys, Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. Carl finished second. Tony finished third at Phoenix, head-to-head, heading to Homestead. What do you want? What else do you want?
And here's what I will hand it to NASCAR, because I think their whole rejiggering of the point system has led to this moment, because fans will be able to watch this race knowing that Tony Stewart is 3 points behind Carl Edwards, and they will be able to see their relative position on the track and instantly know what has to happen in order for one of those or the other to capture the championship.
Let's get down to one thing here, because it was interesting at the end of the race yesterday. Carl Edwards had the lead during a series of green flag pit stops. He had to be, I think, fairly conservative with his last stop. He had to wait as long as he could to make sure he didn't get caught by the caution, number one. Number two, he had to be sure he didn't get a pit road speeding penalty or something like that. And number three, he had to be sure when he got to his box, the guys had to be sure the lug nuts were tight and everything was just fine. He couldn't afford a mistake. That probably cost him the win. The little bits of time he lost through each of those things probably cost him the win. What that meant was that by Tony Stewart finishing third and leading the most laps, he didn't lose any points to Carl Edwards. And what that in turn means is if Tony Stewart wins the race...
Excuse me. Please, continue.
If Tony Stewart wins the race at Homestead, he wins the championship, even if Carl Edwards leads the most laps. 3 points would be the difference in that scenario. Tony would win a tiebreaker. So Tony Stewart now controls his own destiny because Carl didn't win that race and because Tony was able to get by Jeff Burton late in the day. That's critical, I think.
Yeah, but if you're Carl Edwards, you have to love the fact that this thing is coming down to Homestead, Miami, because on paper, and I know that Tony Stewart has sort of defied the paper during this chase, but on paper, you got to think, wow, mile-and-a-half downforce track.
Isn't that what we thought at Texas?
That's going to play Carl Edwards' way. Plus, if you look at their relative numbers at Homestead, Miami, Tony himself admitted that since they banked that track, he hasn't had the success he had on it when it was flat. So if you're Carl Edwards, I think you have to feel pretty good about the fact that not only do you have that 3-point lead, but that you're ending up on this particular track.
It's real fun because I finished in front of Tony. That's the big thing. You know, we needed to keep a little cushion, anything we can. Now we go to Homestead and just race it out. It's going to be fun.
But if you're Tony Stewart, I think you have to feel pretty good about the fact that it's practically head-to-head. It's practically tied.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a dead heat going in there. We just got to do our job like we've been doing, and to have top three finishes in the last 3 weeks, I'm pretty proud of that. So, you know, I'm still pumped up. I want to go to Homestead tomorrow and start. I want tomorrow to be Friday.
Granted, if Tony were to finish, say, third and Carl would have finished fourth, Carl would still win the title in that scenario. So it's not it's not completely tied. But Tony knows if he wins the race, he's got the thing won. He doesn't have to lead the most laps either. He just has to win that race.
And look at, I mean, Tony Stewart, 3 top threes in 3 races.
Well, here's the other thing about Tony. He dominated Texas, led the most laps and maxed out there. But not only that, did you notice again yesterday what he did so well? Restarts, Buzz Cutler, restarts. He was able to pass Carl Edwards on a restart where Carl controlled it. That's the second race in a row he was able to do that. So I think that could be key at Homestead. And the other thing we need to think about heading into Homestead is fuel mileage. It could come down to that as well.
But let's hope it doesn't.
Well, there's one more irony of this, too, which is that Tony now has won 4 of the 9 races in the chase. But the difference is 3 points. Those 3 points, the single win that Carl Edwards has this season that he got back in the regular season. So they've earned the same number of points in the chase. It's those 3 bonus points that Carl enjoys that gives him the lead right now.
Ironical.
Indeed.
All right, for Bassmasters, I'm Buzz Cutler. Thanks for watching. Lots more Rowdy videos. Make sure you check back often.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.